Hi everyone, Petko here. Today we're going to talk about something very important, and that is how to actually get better Mythic Plus. That is a question that has been asked to me very frequently, and I've always been explaining this on stream, but I decided to finally make a video and to showcase to people how to actually get better. Now, before I start judging, and for those that do not know, I once was one of the lowest score player in the world, as you guys can see right here. I started to play the Mythic Plus 2 years ago, and I started pretty much from nothing, from +5s, +4s, as you can see yourself, and I grinded my way all the way up to the ladder. That is the first season I've ever played Mythic Plus with, and I finished world second warlock in the world in season 1, and on top of this, I finished world 43 as a DPS. Now keep this in mind, I was in season 1, where the meta was not locked for sure, and on top of this, I had very little experience and actually no good rate. I went from the lowest to one of the highest, if not the highest scored person in the world. I'm gonna share really quick right now. There you go. As you can see, one of the highest scored people in the world in a matter of like one season. And today I'm gonna talk about how I actually did it. So without further ado, let's begin. First thing first. Don't ever play only for score. Now, Mythic Plus is a group scenario gameplay, and in order for you to achieve the highest keys possible or to increase your score, you must play with people competent enough to do so, right? If you only play for score, what you lose is contacts. Contacts are very important in this game. The social aspect of the game is much more important than you think it is. Having friends to play with will at the end benefit you in the long run. Forming yourself a group will also benefit you in the long run, because grouping and having a premade is way better than pugging. Now, before you start judging, I guarantee you that pugging is not as enjoyable as playing in a group. In a group environment, you also build friendship, and you also build better synergy together. And at the same time, you kind of know already the preliminary routes that you have done before, so it's way easier for you to relax and just play some Mythic Plus. So my advice would be, play to find contacts and group up with the people that you think that they're good at the game, have good attitude, and are fun to play with. Because at the end of the day, that is a game, and if you don't really enjoy what you do, then there's not really a point to do so, right? My second tip would be, don't ever blame people. Now, I understand sometimes you can get frustrated and you can be like, oh my god, this guy did that mistake and this guy did this mistake. Oh, we did play the key because of you. Yes, things will go wrong, but so is life, right? If anything goes wrong, don't necessarily start judging and blaming people. Understand that everyone is a human, and every human does mistakes. And in order for them to prevent from doing that mistake again, after a run, you talk about it and you tell the person, hey, you know what? Maybe the place you died, you should have used your defensive, or maybe you should have positioned yourself differently. And, you could give him some calming words, and you can tell him that his death is completely justified, and he needs to understand how and why did he or she died there. So it's very important to keep a positive attitude. Sometimes things will escalate, sometimes you say bad things, that is unavoidable, but try to keep it to a minimum, and try to understand, especially if you play with premade, group environment is a very important thing. Now, one of the reasons why I was able to achieve one of the highest ranks is because our group environment was extremely good. Overall, very good mentality, and we really enjoyed playing together. We had fun, and the hours didn't feel like we spent like 7 to 8 hours playing today every day, right? So that is something to keep in mind. My third tip would be, you do more mistakes than you think you do. Now, before I continue on that, I would like to point out is one of the ways I started to get better at Mythic Plus is not by only playing quantity of hours, but also improvising myself, adapting, and also recording my own runs. Now that is something you don't necessarily have to do, but that helped me a lot. Recording my own runs made me realize what mistakes I've done and how could I prevent those mistakes. Now most of the times those mistakes will either cost you life or will cost your damage output or healing output if you're a healer, or being able to tank. So recording yourself and understanding how you fucked up or what mistakes you did will benefit you in the long run. That is advice I've learned Along the years I've been playing Mythic Plus, and it took me some time to realize that it's actually very, very helpful. So definitely should check it out. Next advice is one of the most common questions I've been asked on stream. Does meta matters? To some extent it does. If you're trying to push the highest keys in the world, yes it does. But I would say for 99.9% of all of you, it doesn't really matter what you play. Yes, it could be harder to find a group with it, to pug with it, just like it was hard for me with my lock in the beginning. But I guarantee you, if you're really good at your class, even if you play the most uncommon class such as Pharaoh Druid or Holy Priest, you can find a group that, you know, will adore your gameplay, and you can excel further in that class because you really love what you do and how you play with it. So my personal advice is, don't play the meta, play something you really, really enjoy playing, find joy with it, and I guarantee you with the time, you're gonna see yourself coming close to a performance where you think it was impossible beforehand. So keep practicing, get better, and play what you like, because at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter what you play as long as you're good at what you play. Next advice would be, damage matters. Yes, it does. One of the main differences between very top end players and mediocre players is the damage output they could provide to the party. Now that, plus the ability to read the game in advance, will differentiate you from being the best and being mediocre. Knowing how to do damage is not primarily connected to gear. Yes, it is important to have a better gear, but it's also managing your cooldowns. I've always explained this in my coaching sessions and on my stream. It's not about how much you can put, it's about how you separate your cooldowns and planning in advance. I'll give you an example. If I know I'm fighting a pack, I think like a minute or a minute and a half in advance. If I use my cooldowns here, would I be able to have my cooldowns for this big pack, right? Or for this boss? Managing your pre-pots, managing your food consumables will add additional value towards that. So keep in mind that planning in advance will save you and will direct you to a better overall. So that will only come with experience, and that will only come once you start to play and put quantity of hours to the game. Understanding how and what pulls your pre-made group will pull will most likely result in not only your personal performance getting better, but overall group performance will increase. And the last advice would be, have a preset add-ons or Weakauras to support your gameplay. And by that, I mean there are several Weakauras that can help you ease in the pulls and keep tracks on a specific boss abilities or timers. And if you're interested in that, I can show you what I have called Little Wicks. That is an add-on attached to a Big Wicks. It is really helpful for Mythic Plus environment. It shows several cooldowns of several important mobs, bosses. You can reduce them, you can add them, you can modify them, you can do as you wish. I'm just gonna touch what I use. And if you're interested in a whole package of Weakauras or add-ons I'm using, I'm gonna put the link on my Discord and my Twitch, and you can come and ask me, or just take whatever you want from my Discord, because everything I have is right there. That was something I've learned along the way, and it took me some weeks to realize after I started playing quantity of hours in the first ever season of mine that I actually needed all of this data to be able to execute better and perform better in dungeons. That made me realize that there will be several important abilities where they need an interrupt, and having an interrupt Weakaura to track the cooldowns of interrupt of your party members could probably save the day. I'll give you an example. If I know that all of my team members have a cooldown of the interrupt and there's important ability going on, I don't need to rely on them by waiting for them to interrupt. I can, for example, stun it myself or knock it back or mind control it, anything to disrupt the cast on it. That is something that will get better once you start getting better within the group, or just personal performance in pucks, and you can start reading the game and you can see it for yourself. And by reading the game, I mean you see, for example, something is casting and none of them has interrupt. Your first reaction should be, how can I disturb the cast so my group would not wipe, right? So that will only come with experience, and you can only get better eventually if you start putting some time into the game. But those tips overall should help you understand how the top players think and what is the main difference between top end and mediocre players. And if you'd like to see more tips, or if you'd like to see more videos like this, make sure to thumbs up, tell me you like it, and I can further expand on that. Anyway, thank you for watching, and if you want to talk to me outside of this YouTube video, I'm going to attach my Twitch, Twitter, and Discord down in the description, and make sure to tell me that you like that one so I can continue making those videos for you. Great to see you, and catch you next time.